Hey, what's up? My name's Samuel Leeds, and there is a property crash coming. There is. Here's the thing, okay? I'm just going to level with you because you'll see these prophets speaking out and saying there's a crash coming or this is going to happen. And they'll always be right because there's a crash that happens around about every 10 years. There's no big deal. Property prices go up and they go down and they go up and they go down. So you might have heard these videos, people talking like they're prophets. There's a crash coming. It's like, of course there is, Dick, because you keep saying there's a crash, there's a crash, there's a crash, there's a crash, there's a crash. You keep saying that for years and years and years, and eventually you're going to be right, because what happens if you go back the last 1,000 years, you go back the last 2,000 years, as far as we can possibly trace, we can see what happens is there's a crash, followed by a boom, followed by a crash, followed by a boom. Now here's the interesting thing. People say, what are house prices going to do in the UK? That is a dumb question because house prices in the UK don't follow each other. And what I mean by that is, if you look at London, London's going up. Does that mean that Manchester's going up at the same time? No! You could get a massive boom in London and nothing happening in Manchester, and then you can have a massive crash in London and a massive boom in Manchester. So there's always crashes happening and there's always booms happening. So if you want to maximize off of property or any investment, when you buy when properties have just had a crash. And you do that, and then what's going to happen is it's going to go up again. I mean, right now, there's things, not just properties, but investments in general. You can look at the stock market, you can look at business, you can look at gold, you can look at anything. And the time to buy is not when there's been a massive, massive big boom. The time to buy is during and just after a crash. However, with property, I don't like to speculate too much, and this is why, because capital appreciation does not pay my bills. What I mean by that is, I've got properties that I've bought and they've gone up really high, and it's fantastic, and guess how I feel? I feel great. But it doesn't actually help me unless I'm going to refinance it and borrow against that property or sell the property. Here's what I care about more than anything. I care about cash flow. Cash flow. So, and here's the very interesting thing. When there's a crash within the property market and prices go down, normally that's because of a recession. Normally people are struggling. And there's usually three reasons why a recession comes. It's because the people run out of money, it's because the banks run out of money, or it's because of fear, usually fear of one of the above. So when people are running out of money and the banks are running out of money and not lending and there's fear, what happens is people stop buying, people stop being able to afford to buy, and property prices start going down generally. But when that happens, people then start renting more because they can't buy. And when people are renting more, supply and demand, it means if there's more demand of people wanting to rent, rents go up. So we saw this in the 2008 crash, massive crash. But what happened to rents? Well, rents actually went up. So when you're buying properties, don't get too worried about the rabbit hole of what's going to happen to property prices. People always ask me, what's going to happen? I just had someone message me about 20 minutes ago. What's going to happen to the market? Well, firstly, it depends what market you're in, because every city has got its own economy. You've got to get that. Every city, even every town has got its own economy. I've had properties whereby, I've had flats in Warsaw Centre, and then I've had houses in Bloxwich. 2 miles down the road. 2 miles down the road. The houses 2 miles down the road have doubled in value over the last 10 years. The flats in Warsaw have gone down 2 miles away. So if I'd have said to you, this is what house prices are going to do, this person and this person could have both listened to me and they'd have both had very different results just because of exactly where their property is, which is why you need to study patterns, which is why you need to study what happened prior, and which is why you need to work out what's the economy doing in the area, in the specific area where you're wanting to invest. Don't listen to Robert Kiyosaki on YouTube, as much as I love Robert Kiyosaki, but talking about something very general in America, and then you take it to your apartment in Warsaw City Centre. It's just stupid. It's like, listen, you need to think. Think for a minute. Think about where you are. And more than anything, don't worry about property prices going up or down, because what does it matter? Are you buying the house? Why are you buying the house in the first place? Are you buying the house because you want it to go up and then you want to sell it? Is that the strategy? Because that's not my strategy. I think that's quite a bad strategy. You should be buying the house because of the cash flow that it gives you. You're buying a house for financial independence. You're buying the house, and what does financial independence mean? It means that you've got a passive income. You've got a recurring income, which means that you don't have to be reliant on a job, so you're financially free. That's financial independence. And that does not come from a crash or a boom happening. That comes from cash flow. And if you're buying a property that's cash flowing positive, you could buy it for 100 grand and the rent is £600 a month. Great, fantastic. The house could drop down to 50 grand. Does it affect your monthly cash flow? Nope. What about if the house doubles in value and goes to £200,000? Does it actually affect your monthly cash flow? Nope. So don't stress about what's going to happen. Just make sure that when you're buying for cash flow. And if you do want to get capital depreciation, don't go to listen to someone like Robert Kiyosaki and say, what's going to happen to property prices? Because property prices, every city in every country has its own economy. That's my 2 pennies. I'd love to know what you think though. So is there going to be a crash? Yes, there is. Is there going to be a boom? Yes, there is. And it's your job to figure out what's going to happen in the city that you're investing in, and it's your job to make sure that you cash flow positive and make sure that you're getting a good ROI towards your financial independence. If this is so simple to me, I don't know what the big deal is. There's going to be a crash. There's a crash every 10 years or so. Like, come on. What are your thoughts? Comment your thoughts below. I'd love to know them. If you want to do some more training with me as well, I am going to be running some webinars teaching on the best types of deals to buy, and you can check the details on that in the description. Don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe right about here. And if you want to see success students, people that are actually making money and be inspired, check them out right here. And also there's a video just for you up here. Thanks so much. See you next time. Comment below.